Hello everyone. Today we will be discussing about potassium abnormalities and its relevance with ECG changes. So first, hyperkalemia, that is increase in potassium, which is defined as a serum potassium level of more than 5.5 millimoles per liter or 5.5 milliequivalents. So ECG changes generally do not manifest until there is a moderate degree of hyperkalemia, that is more than 6. And what is the earliest manifestation? And this is a very important MCQ as well. Earliest manifestation of hyperkalemia in an ECG is increase in T wave amplitude. So there will be peak T waves. It is the earliest manifestation of hyperkalemia in ECG. So what are the other ECG features of hyperkalemia? Is that the first is the peak T waves, which we discussed. Which is the earliest manifestation of hyperkalemia. You can see peak T waves. Second, you can see is next is T wave widening. So you can see P wave. This is the P wave. There is a widening of the P wave and there is a prolonged PR interval as well. And also there is a wide QRS. And if the potassium levels goes more high, then there will be changes called as bradyarrhythmias like sinus bradycardia or high grade AV blocks or ventricular escape rhythms, or they can also develop slow atrial fibrillation. There will be a wide range of conduction blocks also with increase in potassium levels. And then you can see is the ST depression and tall T waves. So important again is the earliest manifestation is a tall T wave, which is the important MCQ bit for NEET PG. So again, we'll say the earliest is that peak T waves, which is seen when it is 5.5 to 6.5. As potassium levels increase, you can see it is P wave widening or flattening or PR prolongation. So PR prolongation and P wave widening and PR prolongation. Next, as it increases more, there will be development of what is called as bradyarrhythmias, that is sinus bradycardia or high-grade blocks with prolonged QRS, bizarre QRS morphology. So that is widened QRS, you can also see. And if it is more than 9, then you say this is what is called as sine wave appearance, asystole, and there can be also development of ventricular fibrillation. So there is an important phenomena called as the push-pull effect, which will help you to remember the ECG changes in hypokalemia versus hyperkalemia. See, so hypokalemia should always be taken as a push phenomenon. So you can see there is this hand, you can see there's a push at the level of T wave. So this is a T wave. So T wave is pushed. So that means T wave is depressed. Because of this push, what happens is there is a protuberance of this wave, which is this is not a T wave, this is a U wave. So there is T wave inversion, ST depression, and a prominent U wave. And this you can see is the hyperkalemia, where the main phenomena is the pull effect. So where what you do is it's like pulling your T wave. That's why the T wave appears peak, and because of that there is pulling, everything in the ECG gets stretched up, and that's how what is pull effect, creating tall tender T waves and stretching the remainder of ECG because P wave flattening, PR prolongation, and there is a QRS widening as well. So what is the pathophysiology is that increased extracellular potassium reduces myocardial excitability. So excitability of myocardium is reduced, and that's why it leads to there is depression of both the pacemaker cells and the conducting tissues. So as soon as potassium increases, there will be more appearance of what is called as bradyarrhythmias rather than tachyarrhythmias. So bradyarrhythmias are more common and conduction blocks are more common when compared to tachyarrhythmias like ventricular fibrillation or ventricular tachycardia with hyperkalemia. So progressively worsening hyperkalemia leads to suppression of impulse generation by SA node and reduced conduction by the AV node and his Purkinje system, resulting in bradycardia and conduction blocks and ultimately cardiac arrest. So this is an example of an ECG where you can see this ECG displays many of the features of hyperkalemia. That is, first is prolonged PR interval. You can see this is the P and there is a PR to here level. You can see there is a prolonged PR interval. There is bizarre QRS complex is bizarre. The shape is not normal. You can see the bizarre QRS complex. And there is peak T waves. This is the peak T wave. Next is the ECG changes in hypokalemia, that is low potassium levels. So hypokalemia is defined as a serum potassium levels of less than 3.5 millimoles per liter. So ECG changes generally manifest when the potassium levels is below 3. And what again important is that earliest ECG manifestation of hypokalemia is a decrease in T wave amplitude, which is an important MCQ bit for the NEET PG aspirants. So what you have seen in hyperkalemia is that the earliest ECG manifestation of hyperkalemia was increase in T wave amplitude, but here it is reverse, that is decrease in T wave amplitude. Another thing followed by that is there is a prominence of U wave here. So again, ECG features of hypokalemia is increased P wave amplitude, Okay, so in hyperkalemia, that was P wave is flattened, but there is prominence of P wave here. Prolonged PR interval is both common in both hypo and hyperkalemia, and there is widespread ST depression here, and there is a T wave flattening, and there is a prominent U wave, which is more important. Apparently, there is long QT interval. So this is your Q. So QT interval, what we normally in hypokalemia, what we see is the prolonged QT interval, but it is actually not QT, it is a QU segment. So many of times, many people get confused this U wave with a T wave, and they count from QT interval, they calculate from here to up to here. No, but it actually has to be calculated up to here only. So QU interval, the apparent pseudo prolonged QT interval is actually the QU interval. So this is the T wave which is flattened or inverted here, and this is actually your U wave. So QU interval is prolonged, not the QT interval. So pathophysiology of hypokalemia leading to ECG changes is that there is decreased extracellular potassium causing myocardial hyperexcitability. So what happens is this as potassium is depleted, the myocardium is very much sensitized because and it is waiting for the potassium. They're waiting for the potassium. That's why it gets hyperexcitability, and that's why there is a high potential to develop a re-entrant arrhythmias. Okay. With worsening hypokalemia, what happens is frequent supraventricular and ventricular ectopics, supraventricular tachyarrhythmias. So we have seen hyperkalemia causes bradyarrhythmias more commonly, whereas hypokalemia is more prone to cause tachyarrhythmias when compared to bradyarrhythmias. So it can develop atrial fibrillation, atrial flutter, supraventricular tachycardia, short circuit points. So this is an example of an ECG. Here you can see clearly, there is a T wave inversion followed by a prominent U wave. So this is a prominent U wave, and this is a T wave inversion. And there is long QU interval. So hypokalemia again, I will show you again. This is a T inversion with the with the U wave. Later on, with uncontrolled, it is prolonging to what is called a short circuit point, which is a polymorphic field. You can see there is a all the characteristics of not of same morphology. You can see increased morphology here and decreased amplitude over here. So it's short circuit point.